What do the Steelers need to do? Well, on the topic of youth, they need to go younger at a lot of positions, and they've begun by making that hard decision to get rid of Hines Ward. And Bill Belichick in New England, he's a firm believer in getting rid of a guy 1 year early and not 1 year too late. Some would say the Steelers didn't do it 1 year too early, that maybe they should have done it last year. Regardless, they weren't going to do it more than a year too late. They've cut the cord, they've yanked off the Band-Aid, they've moved on from Hines Ward. They need to have that same attitude with some other guys. Aaron Smith, I think it's the end of the road for him. He's had several serious injuries over the last few years. He's on the wrong side of 35. You need to move on. You need to cut that salary off the books, and you need to say farewell, even though he's been a great, great player. James Ferrier, inside linebacker, he's been a great player. It should be over for him sooner rather than later. And then there's James Harrison. Look, now let's hold off on Troy Polamalu because I'm not suggesting getting rid of him. He's coming up, though. They're getting closer and closer to the point where they have to contemplate life without Troy Polamalu. But before you get there, it's Smith, it's Ferrier, it's James Harrison, and at some point in the not-too-distant future, you're going to have to ask yourself some hard questions about Troy Polamalu if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the problem is he's been the heart and soul of that 3-4 defense. You can let these other guys go. The team is fundamentally different on defense when Troy Polamalu is on the field, but he's going to get to a point soon where he can't bring it like he used to bring it. So the sooner the Steelers realize that and start skewing younger, the better off they're going to be over the long haul. One way to get better, presumably with a younger player, is to find the next Jerome Bettis. How long has it been since we've seen a Steelers running back who runs the ball like the Steelers running backs should? Pound it, run downhill. Maybe they should sign Peyton Hillis. Between the tackles, I'm kidding, I think. But find a guy who can come in and help you move the chains on a consistent basis. Play Steeler football. You build a lead gradually, and then you step on the other team's throat with a defense that is very stingy and doesn't blow leads. That's Steeler football, and you get the sense the Steelers want to get back to that because the problem is by having all of these receivers who have caught a lot of passes and scored a lot of touchdowns, you get yourself into a position where you can't afford to keep the receivers around, and that's the dilemma they face now with Mike Wallace. Reportedly, they won't use the franchise tag. They'll use the high restricted free agency tender. I still think they should trade him for what they can get or sit back and let somebody make him an offer and take the first-round pick if they can get it and move on. Because they have to choose right now between Mike Wallace and Antonio Brown. If they sign Mike Wallace now to a long-term contract, they're not going to be able to keep Antonio Brown next year, who's going to be in the same situation next year that Mike Wallace is in this year. So I say take Brown over Wallace, get what you can for Wallace, make your team better in some other area, hope that Emmanuel Sanders can step up, and then go bargain shopping for a veteran free agent receiver. There's going to be plenty of them out there, and that's what the Steelers should strongly consider doing. And then also, hey, we had maybe we could have put in Devin Still at number 4. Get a new nose tackle. Devin Still. Hope that he falls down to wherever the Steelers pick, 24, I think it is. And if he's still on the board, seriously think about taking Devin Still. Although, you know what, that may be a little bit high. Mike Mayock's got him at number 4 on his position-by-position rankings. But Devin Still's got himself at number 1. If the Steelers love this guy, you may have to move in round 1 or round 2, or he's not going to be available later in the draft. But Casey Hampton, he's been around over a decade. Chris Hoke has retired. They need help at nose tackle. That's an important position in that 3-4 defense. And then finally, at the quarterback position. You know, supposedly they did the whole offensive coordinator swap. They got rid of Ben Roethlisberger's good friend Bruce Arians. They brought in Todd Haley because they want to tweak Ben Roethlisberger's game. They want to take control back from Roethlisberger. They want Roethlisberger to do things the way that they want Roethlisberger to do them. That's fine. One way to do that is to give him a little competition. Not that you're going to bench him, but when was the last time they really had a good backup quarterback in Pittsburgh? And all due respect to Charlie Batch, Byron Leftwich, and Dennis Dixon, but there's a drop-off there. And I'm not saying you go out and find somebody who's going to be the next Roethlisberger. You don't need to find that. Maybe you do. Maybe that's where this is all heading. Maybe they're going to try to find somebody that they can groom to be the next starter. Either way, let's get a backup quarterback who plays like Roethlisberger and who is closer to Roethlisberger than the guys that we've seen. And again, Batch did well early in 2010 when Roethlisberger was suspended 4 games. But there's just no sense of internal competition. Create an environment of competition, even if you're not going to bench Ben Roethlisberger. Get some guys there who will push him. Find a way to push him to be the best quarterback he can be, because I think that's really what it comes down to. I think the Steelers ultimately think there's a certain amount of complacency there. He's got the 2 Super Bowl rings. Maybe he's not pushing himself to be the best guy he can be. The best way to do that, give him some competition at his position.